Hey all, Pixel here from Pro Garage, and we're going to be changing out the window motor in my Chevy G20 van. So the key is on right now, and this is stone dead. This motor stopped working and then randomly started working, and then I painted this door panel and put a new switch in at the time. It worked for a while, and it's dead again, so I'm pretty sure it's just that the motor has gone. The motor I bought, this is my local auto parts store motors. None of these are super great quality, but this is just sort of what they had in stock because I decided I wanted to do this weekend and not wait to order one. So to get this off, we need to take the door handle off, which there's a special tool for that. Take this off, take the whole door panel off, and then disconnect the connectors on the backs of these. So these door handles are held on by a clip on the back. I'll show it to you once I get the whole thing apart. You can buy these tools to take it off. They just slot behind there and push the clip. And you can see that's the little clip. This is it in the locked in position. I've seen people talk about how they can like pull a rag between there and sort of push that clip off or get in there with a screwdriver. This is the easiest way, but you don't have to buy the tool, especially if you're doing this super rare. I have literally had this tool since I was 16. And then the rest of it, 2 screws, a bunch of screws. And then these plastic trim tools are good for getting the connector off the back of here because it's got a bunch of pins that stick out of the back of these. And it's really a thing you have to just like pry off of those pins. If you use a screwdriver, you risk shorting across the pins and causing other problems. So these are nice because they're plastic and it doesn't matter if you hit the 2 pins or whatever with them. So let's get it off. Now if your door panel looks different, you know, carpeted, fancy, whatever, that's probably added by either prior owner or the conversion company. None of that is going to be factory, so I can't give you any suggestions on how to take it off because everyone's going to be different. This was a conversion van, and there's just random places around the outside of this where they just like put that panel on and just rammed screws right into whatever. So you're going to have to figure that out for yourself, sorry. Now, this is where the motor is bolted. As you can see, some prior person has come in and hacked away. This is the easiest way to do it is to, I believe, but I don't know for sure because both of my doors have been hacked up already. But I believe there's a little dimple possibly in each of these locations. So you might be able to just drill in a hole big enough, or you can cut it away like this one has. But if you can get at these 3 screws, you save yourself a lot of time, because the other alternative is to take the entire mechanism out and then unbolt the motor from it and then bolt a new motor on and put the whole mechanism in. That's a whole thing with the glass alignment and whatnot. So this is probably actually the best solution, even though it is kind of hacky because nobody will ever see it. So I need to pull these 3 bolts. I need to pull the connector off the motor. I'm going to have to remove some of my sound deadener here that's standing in for the factory vapor barrier. Alright, so here's the old motor out. It's my new one. See how this is like this? It's because the motors are either side. If you're doing a driver's side, you'll see when you take it off, this is mounted this way. Passenger side, it's mounted this way. And the motor is in the vehicle roughly like that. So the plug is down here as you're trying to reach to find it. So if I plug this back in again, and plug my switch back in again, this door, Oh, well, that's interesting. Yeah, see, this motor sort of works, but grudgingly. Let's see what the new one looks like. Oh, that's interesting. So the old motor is doing something. Can't really tell. Yeah, no, I can hear this one struggling more. So hopefully my issue is only that. Now the other thing with this, and let's see if I can get it. Now if you push the glass down in these, you'll expose the tracks of the motor. Now this is a whole mechanism that does this. And what you're going to want to do is make sure that this slide that these two wheels ride in is well greased. And you're going to want to make sure that these wheels themselves are not all worn out. The wheels look fine. I greased these last time. The window goes up and down nice and easily. So my issue is not with the mechanism. You can buy replacement mechanisms. I actually bought some for this van, and then when I opened the doors up and looked, they were bone dry. Put some grease, sprayed some white lithium grease in there. They worked fine. So do that first, grease your mechanisms. If your windows, especially if your windows like go almost all the way down and then stop with like an inch or so, or go almost all the way up and then stop with an inch or so, and you have to kind of help it. That's usually that the track is dry and is having trouble at the very end when the lever is the worst torque. So I'm going to work on the assumption that since that motor makes some sad little noises but turns, that it just doesn't have the oomph to push the window like it should. I'm going to put the other motor in and see if that solves it, and if it doesn't, I have a mechanism to put in here, because these windows are very simple. It's kind of an either or. Either the switch is bad, the motor is bad, or the mechanism is worn out. There is the chance that there's a problem in the circuit, I believe, but I'm not sure. So do not quote me on this, but I believe that the it's threaded? No, it's not. I believe that the driver's window switch needs to be good in order for the passenger window to work, and they won't work independently. Like if the driver switch is disconnected, the passenger side window won't go up also. And I believe that the passenger side, if the passenger side if the driver's side switch is bad in certain ways, the passenger side door window won't work, even though everything in the passenger side window is functional. Just one of those joyous designs of Chevys. Now this motor came with these little tiny screws and these big chunky bolts, and I'm realizing that the big chunky bolts don't fit in any of the holes. And when I put this plate on, oh no, don't tell me they did that. Okay, Adventures in Bad Design. The reason there's big chunky bolts here is because these aren't threaded. Now that's incredibly stupid because your access is incredibly bad. But if I take the other motor, this one has a threaded plate and different size, larger hardware. That's the other thing, is these are so goddamn tiny that the hole here is almost the size of the, actually it's, yeah, it's bare, like the washer will go through. So if I secured this with these screws to this motor, this whole plate would fall off because it's holding the weight of the motor, and then I'd have to somehow reach through and get these out. So what I'm going to do is steal this plate off of this old motor and put it on my new one. It tells me unfortunate things about the quality of this motor, and that'll probably be in here in another year or two. I think, but I'm not sure, again, that the factory ones are left and right, and all the aftermarket ones are like this. So if you're replacing a factory one with an aftermarket one, you might not be able to rob this plate off of it. But again, I don't know for sure. I am going to, once I've got it ready to install, I am going to smear some grease on this here so that where these teeth mesh with the teeth on the mechanism has a little bit of cushioning. So I'm just going to do all of that and then put it back in. All right, we're back together. I actually had to put a different bolt in over here because the one that was there was stripped inside the nut and wouldn't come out, so I had to cut it. And then this was slightly larger, so I had to drill the body out just one size to get it through, but it's together. I put blue Loctite on all of these. Red would have been fine too. I happen to have blue handy just because I don't want this plate to fall off. So now this is going to go back in using the screws from the old one. If I didn't have the ability to take this plate off, but I had access to what my shop had, what I would probably do is weld the nuts on the back, or feed the bolts through and weld the bolts in place, one or the other, and then that would have, you know, allowed me to be able to only put hardware on from the outside. The thing to be aware of is these stampings here aren't just because of the threads, they're also to make it the right size for the holes. So if yours really slops around with the thing, these may be also stamped the wrong size. All right, have to put grease on that. I'll be right back. This is just bearing grease. Doesn't really matter that much. It's not gonna, all it's doing is cushioning the metal surfaces a little bit. So line it up. This here is doesn't have any slack for it to fit. The other two have slots, I presume to account for manufacturing differences. It's not fitting amazingly, even though it's the one that came out of here. But I think that if I, yeah, well, we're gonna, I pull this one in place, then I can pull the other two in. There we go, yep. That pulled it up and in. You want this pin here proud of the plate in the mechanism. If it's not, you don't have it all the way up, like it sticks up just slightly. And then that should have it catch. Now let's plug it back in and see how well my window goes up and down. Interesting. So it's going down, but it's going down slowly. So we've got an improvement, but clearly window is working too, the mechanism is working too hard. Now, the way these work is there's two sliders here, two wheels here, and then this arm here has another track that's spot welded to the back of this that it runs in. And I'm wondering if that track I failed to lube last time. I think I may have. So what I'm going to do is help the window up. And I'm going to get some lubrication on that track in there. Again, I'm using bearing grease. White lithium is totally fine, like the spray white lithium grease. That's what I used before. Something has started ticking. Alright, so it turns out if the battery's not dead, things work better. I had to jump it off the cube. I don't know the order these videos are coming out in, but I spent all of yesterday working on the inside of the van. I had every window open. I had it on for a while I was diagnosing some radio issues. So now, does it fun? I haven't even greased that upper track yet, but see, goes fine where it wasn't doing anything before. So definitely, that old motor was basically dead. With no load on it, it would turn, but it wouldn't actually move the mechanism. I'm still going to grease that upper track, but the reason it was so sad was because the battery was dead, not because the new motor wasn't working. So this job is done. So I've noticed one issue with this door since I put it back together again, which is going up. Sometimes it goes all the way up. Down is never a problem, but sometimes when it's going up, it will stop like that, and I push the button and it goes up again. What that is these replacement door switches are super, super cheap. I just had the same issue. I just replaced this lock switch because my old one broke. And what I discovered just replacing lock switch, because what had broken was this plastic surround, but nobody sells that, so I had to buy a whole nother lock switch. And it turns out, while those plastic surrounds are the same, the switch that's in them is unbelievably cheap junk. These are the Dorman ones. They're basically the only company that sells them. They've basically like figured out the absolute bare minimum that can kind of function as a switch, and that's what they are selling you. This is actually the original switch put in the housing for the replacement one because the replacement switch was so cheesy. So that's what I'm running into with this, which is that clearly I'm getting a bad connection in the up position, and there's really nothing you can do about it short of locating either a factory GM switch or finding a company that sells a better quality one, which I don't know of any. But yeah, super cheapy quality. If your switch functions correctly, but your these plastic surrounds are broken, then you can buy the Dorman switches, very, very carefully pry the switch out the back and put your switch in, and that's what I did here, and it works fine. So hopefully that was useful to somebody. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.